virtual event. The mayor's presentation today has been the largest attendance that we've had for any one of our virtual events. We've had a lot of them, but this is definitely one that I think we've all been looking forward to and going to get some answers for things that are relevant to each of us. This year, the Chamber is celebrating its 40th anniversary. And the Chamber is a volunteer group, a small group here in Kenpo of business people. And we are funded mostly by membership money from each of these members that join up. Depending on the size of your business, the membership fee is calculated from that. The Chamber is actually an organization that advocates for small business. It levies to all levels of government and brings our issues to the forefront so that they can understand the things that are important to us. And that's part of the reason we're having the mayor here today, to bring some of those things into our scope so that we can plan for the future. The Chamber itself has a large method of functioning in that we have benefits where member-to-member discounts are promoted so that we can highlight each other's business and shop local because of it. We have affinity groups where different community partners are levying discounts for us and giving us opportunities to benefit from lower rates compared to some of their competitors. And we also have a healthcare plan that will be a little more affordable for small business. So those are the major items that we have. What we have embraced also is that the Chamber is a networking group, and it helps small business connect with other small businesses and hopefully also bring some people from the community in so they get to know that we have a lot of value there. Since we've had to reduce our person-to-person meetings, some of our platforms have been taken away from us. So the virtual ones have been there to make a replacement, but we're hoping that things get back to normal soon now that we're mostly getting vaccinated and the weather's warming up for outdoor events. So coming up, we have our Harry Pratt barbecue the end of June. And this year, we'll have a special spot in our heart, as it was always Gerald Tom that helped us with location and many other functions in that barbecue. So we'll miss that attendance from Jerry this year, and it'll be a more solemn event, although we'll try to do a great event and everybody still enjoy it. Coming October, it's always our biggest fundraiser, our little black dress event, and it's in limbo right now, as it was last year, until we're sure that the environment is safe. If all the powers that be feel in common that we can do it, then definitely that's something we're looking forward to. So we invite you to be members. Call us up or look on the website to see what it would involve for you. And that's the end of what I wanted to tell you about the Chamber itself. Feel free to ask us anytime. And we're about to launch into the first part of our presentation today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kathy. So this event's an opportunity to hear more from Mayor Peckford. She's going to take a deeper dive into some of the issues facing the community, specifically the business community. You're going to have a chance to ask some questions directly of the mayor. And I expect Kathy and I will be peppering Mayor Peckford with some questions of our own as we go along. If you do have a question, raise your hand on the Zoom call and we will try to fit it in. There will be time throughout or at the end of the presentation. Nancy has some time set aside to answer any questions that don't get covered. Presentation is sort of broken down into four broad topics. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID and what the municipality has done to help the business community adapt and overcome some.
We've lost the volume. Will, you muted.
You're muted, sir.
So he was so excited, he jumped up and fell on his tummy. Wow.
You're muted.
Will, you're still muted.
Party lines, and she went on to lead a multi-partisan organization that encouraged and supported more youth and women to join, to jump into the ring of politics. I've been told that I'm muted by an audience member, so I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone. Can you hear me?
No, I think
We're
we
good,
lost your
Francois?
microphone for
Okay,
quite
so
some
I was
time.
introducing Nancy. I don't know if you missed it, but originally this is her first go around in politics. Originally from Newfoundland and Labrador, but a long background in politics, both as her family. Her uncle was the premier of Newfoundland and Labrador in the 1980s. And then in her 20s, Nancy came to Ottawa and worked on Parliament Hill and went on to lead a multi-partisan organization whose bailiwick was encouraging more youth and women to jump into the ring of politics. She's been a resident of North Grenville since 2011. And in 2018, she decided to run for mayor, has been a force for change within the local political landscape. Since then, she and the other council members have hit the ground running and have been working hard for our community. Welcome, Mayor Peckford.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here. First of all, this is my first mayoral address with the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm just thrilled and thanks to both you, Will, and Kathy Shepherd with a long tenure in this community for agreeing to co-host. I also want to recognize my council colleagues before getting into the meat of things today. I have a tremendous council. I think I have the best deputy mayor anybody could ask for, certainly any mayor could ask for, Jim McManaman, and my colleagues, Councillor Barkley, Councillor Strachan, and Councillor O'Sullivan are a lot of fun to work with. And as you said, we wanted to hit the ground running as a brand new council. It was really important that we took the mandate that was given to us when we were elected, 5 brand new people who had never served in municipal government before. We really wanted to make sure we got it right. We helped change the conversation about what's happening in North Grenville, and we leveraged all of the talent and ideas that were out there. And that's, I think, what was so exciting during the campaign is we were all working in our own way to make sure that we were really listening and hearing where people had anxieties and concerns and felt like things could go better. So, with that in mind, within the first year, we established 8 volunteer advisory committees. I struck a task force, a mayor's task force on affordable housing. We reinstituted the Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee because we felt that was particularly important. We've tried to have better visibility in the paper. And most of all, we've tried, I think, to be responsive to residents and to business leaders. Of course, all of that was going quite well, I think, arguably. Of course, nothing is perfect, but then COVID happened. And COVID, I think, really tested our mettle in a way that was, I think, important. It was an important test of the resilience of this community, of the capacity for council to be responsive, and to better understand where could we be a constructive partner in what was obviously unprecedented times. And that's why we did react quickly and decisively to put some policies and programs into place that were really designed to help manage, the incredible disruptions that particularly our business community was feeling. Of course, families and seniors and caregivers were also, deeply impacted, and there were so many unknowns a year ago. So, of course, what council endeavored to do was just one of, it was modest, but it was, I think, important for us to mount a COVID response strategy that would allow us some capacity and some resources to move forward together. And that's why we were able to defer in 2020 some key budget items and establish within weeks, so a $1.4 million COVID response fund. We also moved to establish a COVID task force that remains active and is comprised of an array of business and not-for-profit leaders. And all of that led to some concerted efforts, and I think many of the people watching today understand that there's a Love NG website. There's a whole campaign rallying around our local business community. We also established a business grant program to provide small but significant grants to help people adapt in COVID times, whether or not it was putting in a barrier, so that they could better and more safely serve customers, whether it was retaining exceptional assistance when it came to accounting services, to help businesses understand how to access many of the grants that were coming online, but coming online very quickly and without a lot of information. So we also offered discounted rates for local media advertising so that businesses that were quite small but needed that visibility could get it. There was a digital squad service that we actioned with some support from the provincial government. So, there have been so many ways with the pandemic that we've wanted to rally and support business leaders during, what obviously are unprecedented times. Nobody saw this coming as much as we might want to say. We all thought there might be a pandemic in our lifetimes. We didn't see it coming, and certainly I think it has been the challenge, obviously, of our time. So I'm so pleased to be here, today to give you a little bit of insight on how valuable, from our perspective as a council, the partnership with the Chamber and with obviously the Old Town BIA has been, because your businesses, your peers, you often have a very good understanding of what they need. And that's why it means so much that I can be here with you today, because this dialogue is absolutely foundational to how we move forward together.
Nancy, I understand that there's some new programming support on the way for the Chamber and the Old Town BIA. What is that about? It feels like there's an announcement about to be had here.
Well, thanks, Will. How kind of you to prompt me. No, of course, as the Chamber well knows, and as the Old Town BIA board is also aware, as we went into 2021, Jim and I, Deputy Mayor Jim McManaman and I, were really putting our heads together. What does COVID support look like in 2021, given all of the evolutions, and the economy opens up for a bit and then it shuts down again, and it's just been so profoundly unpredictable. And credit to our newly minted CAO, Gary Dyke. We signed his contract, I think, 2 weeks before the pandemic. As I think many are aware, part of our job as a council, and my job as mayor, is to identify what kind of leadership do we need in the face of the kind of growth we were seeing. We didn't see the pandemic quite on the horizon when we attracted and retained Mr. Gary Dyke. But he, as a new CEO and a new CEO to us, but an incredibly seasoned municipal leader, has been so important to helping us navigate this new landscape. And Mr. Gary Dyke said to us, I think one of the best things we can do is ensure that the Chamber and the BIA have the capacity to provide the appropriate peer support so that they can do the networking, they can be there for each other, and they can kind of drive what a constructive business support environment looks like. And we brought that to council, Deputy Mayor Jim McManaman and I, and there was just, overwhelming enthusiasm. So we have an unprecedented partnership where we will invest $100,000 respectively in the Old Town BIA and the Chamber, and that's to give you the opportunity to build capacity internally. And really, given these pandemic times, we don't think there's a better way to spend those kinds of dollars, and we think it'll pay dividends. And we're, obviously really thrilled that you guys were willing to forge that partnership with us. The resources are yours to spend. You hire the people, you decide what kind of talent you need and where you need to go with your organizations. But we're there to be a partner to provide some financial stability and overall support.
We're very excited about that, Nancy. It's going to give us opportunity that we never ever dreamt we could get. With the small membership fee, at times we're struggling just to maintain the status quo. So growth and that advancement into that area is something that, is almost out of sight. And this is going to launch us into a full-on capacity where we are going to be able to do all the things we've ever dreamt of. We're thrilled. It's going to be an excellent thing.
It's very exciting too, and I know you're going to talk a little bit later about some of the tourism strategy that's coming into play in North Grenville. So we see it as a win-win in all kinds of directions, where we're going to be able to attract both new business and support existing business and visitors. It's quite exciting. My next question would be, and it's kind of related to the whole COVID and the transition that many businesses have had to make. In our own business, we've had to go online extensively, and we recognize that a lot of our rural partners, a lot of the folks that are in the rural area, whether they're schooling from home or now working exclusively from home, need access to rural broadband. And I know you've been active in that. What's happening with rural broadband in the community?
Yeah, it's one of the top 3 issues I hear about. Weekly, I get several emails from residents or businesses that are really struggling. And, I think we all took for granted, our internet, but I don't think we ever fully anticipated how heavily reliant we would be on it, from everything from, serving clients online, for things like shopping, obviously working from home, filing your taxes, doctor's appointments, kids having to homeschool. And, the rub here has been, as whether you're a parent, professional, business leader, often more than one person now is heavily reliant on the internet in your home. And that's where unreliable, poor rural broadband has become a real challenge. And the reality is that internet here in North Grenville, like much of Eastern Ontario, is fragmented, it's incoherent, and it's often unreliable for multiple users. There is no one coherent system. And we have, I hear from residents, half of the street has been able to manage getting good internet, through a variety of different service providers. And then the other half of the street, by virtue of just a very poor infrastructure, a very poor hardwiring into those homes, is struggling, and badly so. In the summer of 2020, I spent a lot of time speaking to provincial and federal governments. I used to write for the Hill Times, which is the Parliament Hill's premier weekly newspaper. So I authored a couple of pieces for the Hill Times and the Citizen, and I helped to secure a national story with Maclean's magazine, which just came out more recently and featured the workshop, Nancy Morgan's, her local dance workshop. And my message really to all levels of government has been that you can't take it for granted that just because you're within a stone's throw of an urban area, a highly developed urban area, our nation's capital, that internet is here. And even some of the analyses that was being provided by Industry Canada suggested that North Grenville had great internet, and it was by virtue of the definitions they were using. And anyone who lives in the town of Kempville or just outside knows that internet is anything but reliable, depending again on your service provider, on how many users you have in your home. So it's a major issue, and I felt my job as mayor, given the relationships I've had, in this job, but also in past jobs, was to really shine the light on it. I also forged a really important connection with EORN, the Eastern Ontario Regional Network. They have been an innovator on the topic of cellular networks and broadband for over a decade now. And interestingly, they were just in the process of looking at the feasibility of a gig project across Eastern Ontario that would bring a gig to every home, business, and institution, should they get the funding. So again, alongside some of the mayors at the United Counties table of Leeds and Grenville, and across Eastern Ontario, there's 114 mayors, and we've all united around the EORN gig project, because what we know is just because you have good internet here, if you're trying to serve a client who's in Athens or outside of Brockville where their internet isn't very good, or parts of rural Ottawa, you need them to have good internet as much as we need it. So it's a win-win, and I'm very hopeful. We are constantly engaging in conversations with our federal and provincial partners, and Minister Steve Clark has obviously been really good here. So there's lots to do, and I think lots of good news coming.
Yeah. That leads on to another thing, like talking about bringing on some more employment in our area. And it's a hot topic right now, right here in Kenpo. The correctional facility has been, the powers that be have decided that this location is a great spot for it, Nancy. And I'm sure the viewers would love to hear what you have to say on what's coming up there.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm so glad you brought it up. Certainly, when the announcement was made last August, I can tell you it came as a shock to me, and certainly members of my council, and of course the community. It was nowhere on our radar screen. I at the time was chair of the Kenpo Campus, and we'd actually offered to potentially acquire or lease the farm side lands, because at that time they were dormant. That being said, once the announcement was made and we took a harder look at where the proposed correctional facility was going, we immediately engaged in important conversations, again, with Minister Steve Clark and the Solicitor General, to ensure that our community's many voices were heard. There was obviously some distress, and there was some enthusiasm, depending on who you were talking to. So we've had, 6 months of important dialogue. The ministry has hosted, as you're aware, some community forums and stakeholder sessions. Council held its own town hall just over a month ago. And we plan to come back to the community in July with some important information around infrastructure, right? One of the big questions is, will we bear the costs for the infrastructure attached to this facility when it comes to things like water and sewer and roads? And I can tell you unequivocally, there is a commitment that we will in no way bear those costs. And in fact, there may be some advantages in terms of use of remaining lands attached to the farm side that the correctional facility doesn't anticipate using. At the end of the day, council has been really adamant that the facility can't undermine investments in tourism, economic development, or compromise Kenpo Campus's bright future. My 3 children go to school on that campus. I am very, very connected to the campus. My son went to the daycare in one of the oldest buildings on campus, and it is such an asset for all of us. So we've got lots to protect and many more conversations to have. And I'm meeting, in fact, with the Solicitor General, Minister Sylvia Jones. She's head of the ministry, to solidify a few things, and then we'll report out in June. So, we appreciate all the questions we've gotten, and we look forward to more dialogue in the coming months and years. The facility isn't slated to be built and operational until 2027. So we've got a ways to go in this one.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks.
I think I'm talking for most local business people when we ask you next about the 2021 budget. If you can talk a little bit about what kind of investments are being planned within the budget and what's happening around our local tax rates.
Yeah, well, again, when we got elected as 5 brand new councillors, I knocked on 1,000 doors. I heard a lot about taxes. I moved into this community at a time when we had, 3 small children, all of whom were in daycare. Our budget was tight, and it mattered a lot that we felt that we were getting bang for the buck when it came to paying property taxes in this community. So after I got elected and conferred with my council colleagues, we made a commitment, and Deputy Mayor Jim McManaman has certainly been lockstep with me in this. We made a commitment that we would do everything in our power to reduce taxes. If we are growing in the way that we are, I don't think that it's taxpayers that should be bearing the burden of any growth that we see. And that's why, from the years 2019 to 2021, we've lowered the tax rate increase each and every year, from 1.5 in 2019 to 1% in 2020. And this year, we were able to get to 0. That's in part because the provincial government has been really great, and I give Steve Clark his due. They've been incredible in making sure that municipalities were fiscally stable. And while it wasn't all of the reason we could do a 0 tax rate increase for 2021, we are seeing unprecedented growth. The reality is having such a great provincial partner when it comes to municipal affairs has been really, really key. So, the 2021 budget was also about recognizing how challenging it's been for so many businesses and residents, and the economic disruption has not been insignificant. But at the same time, in lowering taxes as we have, we also wanted to sustain commitments to investment, and that was to smart and sustainable growth. It's investing in a high performance municipality that has the leadership and the acumen to make the right decisions. Municipal government is far more complex than even I understood, and I had worked at many other levels of government, but it's a really complex level of government. So we needed to attract and retain really qualified staff who are equipped to navigate this community's evolution. We also wanted to ensure that, road safety, improved sidewalks, trail connectivity were not lost, because we've continuously made investments in those items. And finally, it's about quality of life. I think that's why people love being in North Grenville. There is a quality of life here that is incredibly special, and it's hard to find. And investing in parks, including Riverside Park, which, in my opinion, has languished a little bit. It's our central park, if you will. It's the oldest park in North Grenville. And we wanted to continue a commitment to invest when it comes to a splash pad, an outdoor rink in the winters, a walking track, and a rebuilt change room, so that we could have a multi-season amenity, right? That park doesn't shut down in September. It attracts users throughout the year of all ages and stages of life. So that's some of what we needed and wanted to accomplish with the 2021 budget.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Nancy, about the property taxes. We're seeing all around us rising property values.
Yes.
And they're rising quickly. So should we be concerned locally about the impact on our tax assessments when they're next calculated? What is that? How's the municipality anticipating that'll play out locally?
Yeah, it's a great question, Will. And it's looming large, right? So basically the provincial government delayed the scheduled impact assessment, right, of property values across the province last year. So it is coming now in 2022. I think the assessments are underway, and I understand, if I'm not mistaken, that we'll see the results of those impact assessments later this year for implementation, unless the province changes its mind in 2022. It's a big deal here. We know how property values have increased, and it's why we've wanted to be so incredibly prudent with tax rate increases, because it's not just this, small but growing town that's feeling the impact of massive spikes in property value. So all I can tell you is stay tuned. We're watching it really carefully, and once we have that information from MPAC, we'll be, really incorporating the implications into forthcoming budgets. What we have control over is not the impact assessment, but over our own fiscal, right, conditions here. So we'll certainly do our best to keep a really close eye on it.
I was going to say cross that bridge when we get to it, but that bridge in the next couple of years will be 4 lanes. What's the what's our we all know that's a big future endeavor locally. Even international celebrities are talking about it recently. So
If Michael Bublé can ask a question about it, yeah, we know that that highway is certainly getting noticed. Yeah, so as you're aware, again, it was one of my primary campaign commitments was getting the funding on that done and dusted so we could move to implementation. So, again, I had some important federal relationships that I committed to leveraging if I was elected, and I worked very closely with Minister Steve Clark. Again, he's been formidable. And we had a fantastic collaboration on getting this road done alongside his colleague, Minister McNaughton, and federal colleagues, Minister Monsef and Minister McKenna, two women who I happened to work with when I was in Ottawa doing other things. So it's been fantastic that we were able to secure the funding last July. That was the last piece of the puzzle, if you will. And now we're all about planning for the actual construction. And one of the things that's come up, Will and Kathy, as you know, is that when they assessed the bridge, which wasn't part of the $27 million overhaul of a 3.1 kilometer network on County Road 43, a roadway stretch, a stretch of road, it became obvious that the bridge wasn't going to last more than 5 years. So obviously, they had to, again, this project has been on the books for almost 10 years. And because the funding took so long to secure, and really without Minister Clark, and I think, some of the leadership from the counties and myself, I'm not sure we'd be having this conversation. But we are, and the bridge has now been incorporated into the overall rebuild. The other exciting thing is we're going to have multi-use pathways on both sides and lighting and landscaping that will really create a boulevard effect. And that's been, again, Council's commitment. Deputy Mayor Jim McManaman and Councillor Barkley and Councillor Strachan and O'Sullivan, we're all users of that road. We understand how profoundly inadequate it's been. And we really want a boulevard effect that slows people down, not speeds them up, and that allows for safe pedestrian crossings. So we're now looking at a close to $38 million road rebuild. It's going to be a 3-year project, and construction on the bridge will happen in 2022. And the bridge, because it's being entirely rebuilt, that bridge construction won't disrupt flow on County Road 43 because they're going to build a parallel bridge. Once that's built, they will and operational, then they'll demolish the old bridge. So for all those people sweating County Road 43 traffic now, I can assure you that disruptions will be to a minimum.
That's really great, because I was kind of concerned.
Actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, you've lost volume again. It's Heather.
I'm coming in early in the morning, and there's folks walking to work in the dark to the colonnade and so on. And we know this is going to be a huge improvement to get folks on sidewalks and such. What do we want to talk about now? I think we're talking.
I think we'll look at what's coming and the growth in our community.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to talk about growth because we see it all around us. And it's just, it raises a lot of questions, and there's anxiety, right? And I think that anxiety is fair. I know that when I became mayor, I was informed by the fact that my spouse's grandmother had been born and raised on Bedell Road, had gone to school at the Oxford Mills Schoolhouse. And to this end, the reality is that we want to have a good rural and urban balance, right? We don't want to lose sight of our rural roots. We want to honor what is a tremendous agricultural tradition here, and balancing that rural and urban blend is key. And again, I think it's what makes the municipality of North Grenville so special. When you look at the fact that we have 6 rural hamlets, some with their own very distinct history and character and personalities, nobody ever wants to lose that. We don't want to lose that. And when we earlier this week, we launched the Adirondack Chair initiative, and to see those oversized chairs distributed throughout our municipality, not just the town of Kempville, is really important to us. Because when you go to a rural hamlet, in some ways you're going back in time. It can feel incredibly refreshing to get out of the hubbub of, a growing town. At the same time, it is important to manage growth well. And to that end, it's really why, there has been a new leadership established within our municipality, because we are hearing a lot actually from business leaders and builders in the community that there was a level of frustration that quite frankly was untenable. And we could see that the municipality wasn't necessarily equipped to manage growth and to protect the things and the character that many people here in North Grenville care about. And when you talk about trail connectivity and road safety, and ensuring that if you apply for a building permit, even as a resident wanting to build a gazebo in your backyard, you get it in time. So, managing growth well and sustainably has been really key. So you might, I think many of us are aware, and if you put out your garbage this morning, as some of us did, we've introduced a new composting program. And that was in recognition of the fact that we are growing, and that there was a real limit, even fiscally, to sending all of our garbage in its current form to a transfer station, and then it was being shipped off outside of our community, many kilometers away at great expense. So we introduced a composting program. The other thing that I've spent a lot of time on is Kenpo Campus. And as the now former chair of Kenpo Campus, I think, Kenpo Campus provides this unprecedented opportunity to preserve and foster rural urban growth, right? In ways that I think are constructive and dynamic and sustainable. And I'm so pleased that we've named Karen Cooper as chair of Kenpo Campus. She's a seasoned not-for-profit leader. She's a legal expert. She teaches at the University of Ottawa in not-for-profit law. She brings a lot to the table, and she's transitioning now Kenpo Campus as we wanted from the current interim board that Deputy Mayor Jim McManaman and a school board partner sat on, to an arm's length entity. And I am really confident that after a master planning process that was quite comprehensive and outlines a really positive vision for Kenpo Campus, that the fate of that campus and the future of that campus is in the right hands. So, that's a part of, how do we manage growth? Because the growth is very significant, and our planning department is just fielding unprecedented levels of interest in institutional, commercial, industrial, and residential development. I mean, it's really quite extraordinary. For over $4 million just in the last year alone in investments in the institutional, commercial, and industrial side of things. So, there's so much more coming residentially. We have potentially up to 800 homes being either built or at least commenced in the next 3 years. There's a lot happening, and North Grenville is increasingly seen as a great place to do business and enjoy a very high quality of life. And that is putting us on the radar. So there's lots that comes to managing that growth well and responsibly.
Absolutely,
That is
Nancy.
great
I'm
news.
telling, yeah.
Sorry,
With
Kathy.
That's okay. With all of the things we've talked about this morning, with the, the potential for the increased internet access, all the new people that are coming, me as a small business, this is all stuff that I really, really need to know to budget and plan for the future. Not only floor space, but, staff capacity, hoping that the new residents will bring with them some new talent that wants to work here. These are things all together combined that really, really, as a business owner, are numbers that I need to know. And so from that perspective, give us an idea of what the municipality is looking on for sustainable growth. Like, how can we keep this up, or what's it look like?
Well, we have really seen, even with the pandemic, our local economy is growing. I mean, it's truly remarkable. So we have nearly 5,000 jobs right here in North Grenville. Again, largely on the strength of a growing local economy that's adapting. Small businesses are certainly the backbone of our local economy right now. And the municipality is dedicated to ensuring that, they obviously, you receive the support you need for that growth. New housing starts are a big piece of our, of our pie, and we've known that for years and years. Residential development is the major driver of what's happening here in North Grenville. And the number of homes being built or foreseen to be built are just they will intensify in the coming years. But we're excited by that growth. We need that growth. We have to invest, however, to ensure that that growth is done well. And sometimes we get questions about, well, sustainability and environmentalism, and how do we make all of that work? So we're looking at, for example, a tree canopy bylaw that will ensure that even though we grow, we really preserve that tree canopy. We're so blessed to have 3 forests really right at our doorstep. We've got Ferguson Forest, we've got Limerick to the south, and we've got the Kenpo Campus Agroforestry Center, which is over 300 acres of forested, protected area right in the heart of Kempville. So again, it's really about that balance. One of the other things we've had to do is the municipality is investing in the expansion of our wastewater treatment facility because we were nearing capacity. And with some of the growth we're seeing, it was imperative that we ensure that the capacity exists, not just for tomorrow, but for decades down the road. Really, I think, Will and Kathy, our local economy is healthy. It, I think, will thrive even in these pandemic times, but council wants to make sure that we all benefit, right? That everybody is benefiting from the kind of growth we're seeing, and that no one's left behind. And again, that's why the Affordable Housing Task Force, right out of the gate in 2018, it was up and running in, I think, late January of 2019, gave us an opportunity to establish a task force. And there were builders on that task force and not-for-profit advocates and residents who really insisted that because so many people are being priced out of the market now, we need to ensure that with every development, there is a percentage of that development that is reserved as affordable. So you'll see some of the forthcoming developments, whether they're Kevlars or a smaller development on Elvira Street, preserving a minimum percentage of 17% of their units to be affordable, whether they're rental units or housing units. We're also very pleased to be working with Habitat for Humanity to develop 15 3-bedroom homes on a piece of land just at the periphery of the campus. And those homes are scheduled, we believe, to be built later this fall. So, there's lots happening, I think, to make growth sustainable and inviting and manageable for our community. And with that growth, comes other opportunities, such as tourism.
Yeah, it's one thing as a local small business owner in North Grenville is that we know that we're chock full of hidden treasures here, whether it's the bakeries, the shops, artists and writers, and food production, and it's a long list. And a lot of us feel like the key to unlocking a lot of the economic potential locally is going to be in tourism. What's I know that there's been public consultation and strategy forming. What's the next step when it comes to tourism in North Grenville?
Yeah, well, I think what's really remarkable is how unique our offerings are. And, when we launched the tourism consultation strategy, we brought in a leading edge tourism firm that has developed strategies for communities all across Canada. One of their first stops was Graham's Bakery, and everybody knows Graham's. And this is a business that has endured for nearly a century. Obviously, Deb Wilson and Rick are mainstays to that business. And it just shows the enduring value of some of our older businesses that continue to attract lineups every weekend, as well as the attractions of so many newer businesses, such as yourself, Wills, right? That are newer to our community, but are bringing people out. So what we know is, and what the tourism consulting firm told us, is leverage your businesses, because that's what's going to bring people here, is that trip to Graham's on a Saturday morning, or the farmer's market, or you need new blinds and you've heard about a great company and a great business that's going to give you tremendous customer service. So our businesses are putting us on the map, right? And you think about the Brigadoon, right, in Oxford Mills, and you think of the wide array and diversity of our businesses here, and you can just see the power and the potential. So, you know, for us at the municipality, we're hiring a tourism coordinator, and his or her job, I don't know who it is yet. We're not involved in the hiring at the municipality, so we've left that in good hands with our municipal staff. But that person is really going to start talking to local businesses about how we can leverage what we have and really feature and highlight this community. And Will, you were with me yesterday when Canadian singer-songwriter Michael Bublé popped in on a call, and when I was having those conversations back in March and April, I sold my business community. I said, I want Michael to come on a call and see the tremendous diversity, you know, in our business leaders. They capped me at 7. They wanted, I think, just 5. And I said, absolutely not. We need to have 7 so we can show the breadth and depth of our innovators and our business leaders. So of course, it was very difficult to make those choices, but nonetheless, Mr. Bublé joined us because he was compelled by what North Grenville has to offer. And we appreciate that he popped in. So I think, you know, we're just at the beginning of what we can do on the tourism front. You know, one of our tests last summer was the downtown promenade event, and we leveraged a very popular Kenpo Farmers Market, our green space, our wonderful sort of downtown with the, you know, lovely vantage point of Kenpo Creek. And we really sold the kind of space and spaciousness and business, I think, diversity that we have here. And 1,000 people showed up. So I think, you know, we're just at the beginning, and there's lots more to come.
We're excited at the Chamber about the Royal Rideau chairs that are going to be another local attraction, and they'll be scattered throughout some of the hamlets as well, and downtown, and different business organizations and community groups are going to have a giant chair from our very own Muskoka Share Company, whose name is escaping me, which is terrible. Where did our beautiful chairs come from?
Yeah, it's the woodworking company. I think it's DFC Woodworks, if I'm not mistaken, right?
There it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know,
So it's going to bring some other opportunities too, because the chamber is actually working on some kind of geocaching project where we are working them into part of our municipality to support small business and the places where those chairs are, so that people get out and see what's really there. And our chair, one of our chairs, is going to be featured over in the nursery, and I think it's a spectacular idea. This winter, the use of the trails, the dog park, the sliding hill, the ski trails, it was amazing. So the chamber is really working hard with some of these programs to pull those geocaching things together, so everybody has a purpose to see all the different things, like Graham's Bakery and all the shops, the restaurants, the walkways downtown. I think this is going to be like the highlight of the future, but it's definitely pulling us all in together. It's a great idea.
North Grenville is a great place to stay active, and I know that you've we're competing. What is this about? I have to exercise on top of everything.
exactly. Well,
very good.
You know, it's funny because I think when Kathy and I, while she was still at the helm of the chamber, wanted to get together to discuss some shared initiatives like the one I announced earlier today, we did it while skiing on the newly established Kenpo Winter Trails. And, you know, I can't tell you, I think, how much positive feedback, you know, we received. And in the case of restoring the seasonal ice rink on Kenpo Creek, right, just for a couple of weeks, getting the cross-country ski trails going, getting the toboggan hill going, there's just been such wonderful leadership coming from the community. And, you know, I really regard it as our job at council to say yes, right? Not to say yes to everything, but where we are investing in the quality of life of our residents, our families, our seniors, and we can ensure that people stick around right here for the weekends, that they enjoy all of what North Granville has to offer. That's really, I think, the measure of a community, right? The measure of the health and well-being of a community. And the pandemic has really forced us to really look around in our own backyard. And I remember, again, I was on the campaign trail and I talked to people who said, there's nowhere really to go here. They had just moved into the community and they didn't know about the forests and they hadn't connected into the trails. And it took them a long time to orient. And I think the gift of the pandemic is that people are getting out there and they're seeing what's in their own backyard and they're enjoying those natural assets. And, I want to salute, all of the community leaders who came to us and said, we want to make this happen. We want to make it happen in a really short timeline. Will you work with us? And again, with great municipal leadership, on the part of Mr. Gary Dyke and his senior management team, in concert with my council colleagues who are all active and engaged and committed in their own ways, we've really wanted to say yes to worthy and meaningful community initiatives, which brings me to Participation. So Participation, as some of you may recall from your earlier days, I'm 48, turning 49. I remember Participation in Labrador City when I spent, my family moved there for a number of years when I was growing up. And Participation is going strong. I think it's their 50th year, if I'm not mistaken. And this 50th year anniversary, they are carrying on with the Participation Challenge for Canada's most active community. So Deputy Mayor Jim McManaman and I sit on the Health, Wellness and Fitness Committee that Deputy Mayor really wanted to establish. I wanted to get the Agricultural and Rural Committee back. He wanted a Health, Wellness and Fitness Committee. Councillor Strachan was very keen to ensure there was an Environmental Action Committee. So we all, sort of made our mark on some of these committees. But the Participation Initiative has really grown out of the Health, Wellness and Fitness Committee. They were keen to see if we could vie for Canada's most active community. And Will and Kathy, I know you're both active. All you have to do is before the month of June, you download the Participation app that's on your phone. You
Already
sync it.
here.
Excellent. You sync it with an existing fitness tracker, whether it's Fitbit or the health app that is on many phones automatically, and you start moving in June. And we know so many people are already doing that. And I think this community has demonstrated such a commitment to being active. We stand a really good chance of being a really worthwhile contender for Participation. So we're pretty excited about it. You're going to hear more about it through the Health, Wellness, Fitness Committee. But, I'm a bit competitive. I think the committee
I was just going to say, yeah, there's a few of us that's a type A personality. We'll be out there doubling our kilometers every day.
And,
that's an excellent idea.
Kathy, I need to tell you, the winner in the last year they held it, which was 2019 rather, because they suspended it in 2020. The winner was a community of 4,000 people. So
Yahoo, we have a good chance.
So it's just proportion of existing residents. So I think we've got a good shot.
We do. Just got to get people to sign up.
That's right.
Can I just interject for a second? I wanted to thank some of the people behind the scenes because they're not on the screen today, but the municipality's corporate media relations lady, Jill Sturdy, has been paramount in pulling this all together. She's helped us with the dialogue and give us the confidence we need. And our techno genius is Francois Desmareau from Livestream Junkie. And the two of them have made us look very sparkly today. So thank you so much to those two.
Yeah, we've appeared reasonably professional, which is
well done.
Thanks to them.
Great.
Did we have some? I think we've gotten to the time where we might take some questions that folks either via Zoom, or I think there's also the Facebook Live is up and going. Okay. How do I see that, Francois?
Hi, Colette here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Well, welcome Carolyn to the call. She had a question and she's coming on live.
Sorry. Hi, I'm sorry. My name is Colette. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Colette.
Hi.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I've talked to Nancy before when I was talking about broadband. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm not in business. I'm a retired business person. I'm a resident of North Grenville. I'm retired. But I do have a couple comments and just a couple questions. Number one, I appreciate the benches that are placed around town at the library and whatnot, but I think that there should be more benches for pedestrians. People go out for walks, that they get tired, and I happen to walk with a cane at the moment, and I noticed that there aren't that many public places for people to sit and rest. And I think it would be a good idea, especially along Curry Park, and those walking trails, etc. It would be great. And I do appreciate the more trails being put in for walkers. And I think that any development in mind, any future developments as well, pedestrians should be thought of as well as the drivers, because I think sometimes pedestrians are forgotten in developments. Like for example, at the Colonnade Mall, I realize that's private property, but they have sidewalks that just kind of stop, and you can't take a sidewalk to the next level. You've got to walk on the road. The other thing is, I appreciate the fact that more stop signs are going in, especially that new one on Clothier, I think it is. I think that helps pedestrians definitely. But I do have a question. You want to increase tourism in town, and I used to be a tourist operator. The problem is we have no decent hotel in town. We have no place for people to stay. And that is the biggest concern. Every time news comes that a hotel might be built, like if I want to have a family gathering, a reunion, or even if there's a funeral, people can't stay in town. I mean, there are very few places. And so you're looking at them staying in Ottawa or in other places. And I really do think a hotel development is of a primary concern. The other concern I have is that big empty land across from the Colonnade that never seems to, anybody wants to develop. I understand there's an issue with the roundabout and the cost of the roundabout, and somebody has to put money in for that. I think something's got to be worked out for that, because you'll never get development if something isn't worked out about that roundabout. And my last question is, I do have one question. What is being built just west of Food Basics on 43? What's that development?
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, I'm hearing some feedback. I just want to okay.
I'll put
Yeah, that's great. I super appreciate those questions. I wanted to say on road safety, again, Councillor Barkley, John Barkley is the liaison for Public Works, and we've had lots of conversations alongside Councillor O'Sullivan, who's a very passionate, and active. She walks a lot, she bikes a lot, she's out there on the roads all the time. And we've really put our heads together on how to increase road safety in North Grenville. So just to say, we are looking forward to introducing new traffic calming and speed reduction policies in the coming months. We think summer 2021, we're piloting them in June 2021. And our public works staff, again, brought in some outside expertise, because what we discovered was North Grenville's sort of traffic policies hadn't been updated to reflect what I think is the standard that people want in this community. And there's been so much growth. So we look forward, I think, to getting more stop signs in the ground, to reducing speed limits, to looking at things even as radical as speed radar, because we have some chronic, we have some areas where there's chronic speeding, and we certainly want to address them. Yes, to park benches. I think we were careful with park benches because of COVID, and there were, such strict regulations around public gatherings, but we really hope and look forward to welcoming more park benches. In terms of the hotel, there still is a hotel on deck. it in fact came to council for site plan approval just before the pandemic. And it has been put on hold during the pandemic, but I can assure you anytime there is an expression of interest by a developer in building a hotel, we are certainly doing everything we can at the municipality to create the conditions for yes, as long as obviously they're doing all the right things. So I think we'll get there, but it has been frustrating. And I felt like you have, my youngest child was baptized and I couldn't host out of town family in this community, even though he was being baptized at the local Anglican church. So it's a tough one, but there are some good Airbnbs I've been led to understand. So don't forget about those. Finally, in terms of, oh, I'm sorry, Will, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish the question. Okay. Sorry, Nancy. I was just going to remind folks, maybe I'll do that and then you can continue. I'll remind folks that if you're on the Zoom call, just put up your hand. If you have a question, use the function of putting up your hand. And if you're on the Facebook live stream, just put your question in the comments and we'll ask Nancy or bring you on the Zoom call. Thanks, Nancy. Sorry about that.
No, please. It's great to actually hear from some residents because it gives you a really different picture. And, you know, I think, you know, Will and Kathy, I'm the parent of 3 active school-age kids. And it's one of the things I said when I was running. I'm in the community, I'm parenting in the community. I obviously wanted to work in the community, and the side conversations I have with residents and businesses every day are deeply informing, I think, what we're doing at the municipality. So it's great to get the kind of engagement we are today on the screen. So to go back, there are 2 plots of land that are privately held next to the food basics. One is for prospective commercial development, and we don't have the information actually on what exactly that will look like. You know, obviously if a developer owns land in this community and they have the right zoning, they can then go through our municipal staff. We've got a newly minted director of planning appointed by our CEO, Gary Dyke. Her name is Amy Martin, and she's really bringing a fresh perspective to development in the community. And we're really happy to have her. And I know Deputy Mayor Jim McManaman is as well. So Amy would be working through you know, processes with any developer who wishes to obviously build commercially or residentially. And just next to that is a residential development called Oxford Village. That development, interestingly, was on the books for many years. I think I'm told up to 20 years. So that land has been held privately for a long time. And the plans for that land were very well in play when council was elected. So, you know, again, our job is when these things finally make their way to council after they've been fully vetted by municipal planning staff, then we look at things like walkability, road safety, affordable housing, you know, accessibility to parks and other trails, environmental considerations. So once it's back at council again, we'll have more to say, but it is a significant residential development called Oxford Village.
Nancy, we have another question for you on Zoom this time from Aletta Karstedt.
Oh, hi, Aletta.
We're going to unmute her. It'll take a second.
No problem.
Okay, good. Here I am.
There she is.
Yeah, I just want to have a shout out, make a shout out to some grassroots stuff that's happening as a response to COVID and the financial stress that a lot of our community has been under. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of pages, maybe 3 pages at least, for free stuff that have popped up, and the latest is actually a Facebook page run by my daughter, and she borrowed a couple of our pop-up tents and put them up, and it's been booming. The response has been amazing, and she has a lot of rules about how to approach the tent, only one family at a time. And people have to be registered on the Facebook page in order to, and then say what it is they're bringing. And it's just so amazingly organized that I think there should be a lot more. And I think if the municipality were to find a way of encouraging these sorts of things, and perhaps even providing tents for people that want to have a limited time swap and free thing happening at their house, that Jenny even has a box for free toiletries and personal hygiene things, and it's been much appreciated. Like, these are like new stuff that she buys and puts in this box. So anyway, there's a lot of community efforts that have been going on as the pandemic has been for so long. That these people think of these things, ways of helping their neighbors and ways of helping their community, and we're all very happy about frontline workers and the bravery and courage and faithfulness of these people that continue to go to work. But I think that community volunteering and community efforts like this free stuff ideas should also be, I think it should not only be acknowledged, but it should be encouraged by municipality.
Okay. Alita, I'm so glad you brought that to my attention. Jennifer just lives down the street from me, as you know, so I've gotten the opportunity and the pleasure to get to know her. And, I think what Jennifer has done is really emblematic of the incredible generosity of this community. And I'm remiss to even mention more of it because I'll leave somebody out. But if anyone paid attention to the pizza initiative that happened recently. It was started by a resident, Manal, who basically won she won a small amount of money on one of those cash lottery cards, very modest. And she said she'd sponsor a free pizza, and it snowballed, right? It snowballed into many, many, many families and residents in this community getting a free pizza brought to their door in partnership with Mr. Mozzarella, I think largely. And I think what COVID has done has really once again shone the light on what an incredible community we have and how many people, no matter how long they've been here, are willing to step up. And I think, I don't think I could have, I don't think I would have anticipated when I moved to North Granville so many years ago that I would feel so at home so quickly. And I think that is North Granville's charm and its power is the tremendous capacity we all have to welcome each other. And to do our best, especially in these COVID times, to protect each other. So thank you, because I think those efforts, whether they're through Facebook or other fora, to bring people out to share what we have with each other, again, is the sign of a community with incredible character and incredible spirit, and how blessed are we. So thank you to Jennifer and so many other residents who and business leaders, might I say, who give generously every single day. It's really quite tremendous. And the pandemic was, again, the big test on that.
I agree. Will, I think we got time for one more question. Have you got one there, maybe on Facebook or Zoom?
Yeah, there's one that's come up. Brian Colburn at Facebook. He's asked, what's happening with the noise bylaw? Apparently they want to limit noise for 10 minutes for off-road vehicles. So that was a question from Brian on Facebook.
Yeah, it's great. I'm so glad Brian asked that question because, sometimes when you're a municipal government, especially in pandemic times where you don't have people coming out to your council meetings, right? You can't do the monthly discussion forums that our council had initiated. You don't know if people are paying attention. Well, on the noise bylaw, Kathy and Will, everybody paid attention. And that's exactly what we wanted. We had increasingly, again, with the pandemic, people are at home more, they're working at home. We were increasingly getting complaints about noise. And again, working with municipal staff, they said, well, your noise bylaw is a bit weak, right? It's kind of incoherent in places. We could take a stab at strengthening it. So we let staff go do their thing, look at some other models, and they presented a draft bylaw to the community for consultation, even before they brought it to council, which was what we wanted. Let's test this with the community. Well, I can tell you loud and clear, we heard from a lot of rural residents who said, not on your life. this isn't going to work. You're compromising my capacity in a rural area to enjoy my rural property. And this is why I've moved here, stayed here, been here for 5 generations, whatever it is. So the good news is we received a lot of really good feedback about how to do it differently. So the draft bylaw in its current form is not even going to come to council as is now. In fact, I think we're going to extend the consultation process, look at some other models. And when it comes to noise, it's legitimate that there are people in this community, and they know who they are, who've been really clear with us that if you are in a rural property and you're being systematically disturbed, the municipality needs a mechanism to respond. So that's the one side. The other side is that in rural areas, people expect to have a certain amount of freedom, and it's it's all about how we live together, right? And alongside one another, rural, urban, doesn't matter. So noise bylaw will get another really hard look. It won't be advancing in its current form. And, I think it's an important conversation, especially as we go into a community strategic planning process. I didn't have an opportunity to mention it, but every 5 years, every community in Ontario is mandated by the province to do a community strategic plan. And we are launching our community strategic planning process in June, and we will be giving residents and businesses a variety of ways to tell us what they want this community to look like in 5 years. And we really look forward to all of the feedback we get.
Great.
Rural, urban will be a big part of that equation.
Nancy, we've only got about
That's
5
been a
minutes
theme.
left. Sorry, Will. We've only got about 5
No, I was
minutes
just
left,
gonna
and I
say
know
that's-
there's a couple more. Sorry, Will.
Questions? There's a tiny
gonna say
delay in
this-
this, and you get two business
let's-
people that love to talk together, along with a politician who will fall over each other a little bit. But
Oh,
I was
I
gonna
guess
say
Debbie
that
Wilson has
rural-
one more question.
Yeah.
I don't have a question per se, but I would just really like to thank Kathy and Will and the group that put this together, and extremely, extremely thankful of who we have as our current mayor and deputy mayor and council. And please keep up the good work. You're doing an amazing job for this community.
Deb, it's so nice to see you. And I know that you've now stepped down as chair of the BIA, but you held that fort together pretty well for a lot of years, Deb. And we hope to see you in other capacities outside of Graham's Bakery. You are one of the reasons I really wanted to step up and run, and Graham's Bakery, being the institution that it is, has been a real comfort to me and my kids, getting all those apple fritters, having chats with you and Rick at the bakery. Kind of, sometimes I have to let off a little steam, and you guys have been great at letting me vent, because it's not an easy job. I don't think any of us have easy jobs as business leaders or community leaders. But I want to say again, it's an honor every day. It's an honor to get up and serve this community. And I am incredibly motivated and incredibly proud of being your mayor. It's just been such a journey for me. And I remember, again, when I was running, my kids were 6, 8, and 10, or 4, 6, and 8. They were young. And people said, can you pull this off, Nancy? Like, don't you feel like you need to spend more time with your kids? And I said, there would be no greater gift to my children or to me to be able to serve my community in a new and different way, and not do that commute into Ottawa and give that energy and time I have to other people. I want to give it to where I live and where I am raising my family. And it has been an absolute pleasure to serve this community. And not every day is easy, but that's not the point. And we have fantastic municipal leadership. I have fantastic colleagues. And again, I want to shout out to Councillor O'Sullivan, who's a 40-year nurse. She's been a nurse for 40 years. She's the most active person I know, and she keeps me honest and she keeps it real, and I love it. And Councillor Strachan, who's newer to the community as I was, but has really made her mark. Of course, Councillor Barkley, who's done so much of the heavy lifting on public works. It's a high demand file he's got. And my deputy mayor, who's been just a fantastic colleague and collaborator, and all of you. I think at this stage in our evolution, and given where we are at the pandemic, we just have to hunker down for a few more weeks, Get vaccinated if you can. We've got a wonderful vaccination and assessment center here in North Grenville. And again, you know, Dr. Suzanne Rutherford stepped up and said, we need one here. Brockville was begging us to get a COVID assessment center because there's a lot of people here and they need to be served right here at home. So again, I think, you know, it means so much that I can spend this time with you today, that we can be an accessible and responsive council, that we can struggle together and grow together in ways that are really positive and make us all proud.
Nancy, will you come back again and do it maybe either quarterly or semi-annually?
As you wish. I'm here for you, Kathy and Will. I thank you again for agreeing to do this. Jill Sturdy, who's been managing some of the comms in the background. And of course, our amazing video production partner, Francois and his team. It's been wonderful that you've given me this time to talk about what it looks like from my perspective. I appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you very
This
much,
has been
Mayor.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We hope to do it again in the not too distant future. If you have some folks that you'd like to hear from with topics that interest you, please get in touch with us at the Chamber of Commerce, and we'll pull it all together again for another one of these conferences live on the internet. Hence the higher quality need for internet. So great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kathy.